Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to show you how to replace the spark plugs in a VAUXHALL Corsa D, but this also works on a wide range of VAUXHALL Corsas and other petrol engines in the VAUXHALL range. So basically I'm just changing these as part of a service item, but if you've got any sort of a misfire or any sort of an engine issue where it sounds like you've got a bit of a vibration or your engine doesn't seem to be firing right, this would be the first thing I would check. So I'm going to run you through how to change them, but I'm also going to show you what to look for because I actually had a misfire and a fault with this car a little while back. So thought I'd run you through it. Let's take a look.
And if you get value from this video, hit the like button and subscribe to support this channel.
Right then, so what we're going to be looking at is a Corsa D 1.4 petrol, and I'm going to show you how to replace the spark plugs. Now, first thing you're going to want to do is remove the cover covering the coil pack. So that's this cover by here that says Ecotech. Now, it's just in two little poppers on the front, so you lift it up and it hinges, but I advise just unclipping it from the back and lifting it up completely out the way. Just makes it a bit easier when you're trying to work on it, just to take that cover out the way, because it only unclips, so no need to have it there in the way. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the electrical plug. So this is the coil pack and this is the electrical plug. Now there's a little orange or red tab and you need to just pry it back only ever so slightly to allow it to release the catch. So now you can push the catch down with your thumb. If the plug's a bit tight, just give it a bit of a pry with a screwdriver, but obviously if you have to bar it too hard, then make sure your catch is pushed all the way down so you don't break it. Now the next thing we're going to do is remove the two Torx screws. Now these are T30 Torx bolts, and we're just going to undo them and remove them, and they only bolt into the aluminium of the head, so they're not overly tight. They should be pretty loose actually, and then you can just take them out. Now once we got them screws out of the way, we're going to lift the coil pack off. Now it can be a little bit tight in there, so sometimes get a screwdriver under the one side. You can get your hand under the plug on the other side and just give it a lift, and out it should come. Now we've got the coil pack out and the plugs are just down in the holes, but the first thing I want to do, I just want to show you this coil pack. Now I've had issues with this vehicle over the past with the actual contacts corroding inside these rubber boots. So if you've got a misfire, definitely remove these and check the contacts. And I'll be honest, I have checked them on service and found them all green, so replaced them in the past. So once you take the boot off, you can pull out inside. You've got basically a little spring and some sort of device. I'm guessing it's either a resistor or some sort of little fiber contact in there. So you can see the spring head there just touches on the top of the spark plug, and then you've got this coil, and then you've got this piece that contacts into the coil pack. So you want to make sure that's all nice and clean. There's no green or no build-up of corrosion. If there is, just give it a bit of an emery tape off and then put it back together. You can buy these on eBay. I will put everything down in the description. So if you want to see what everything is, and also I'll put the tightening torques and everything down in there for you. So these just push back on. They're just a rubber boot that pushes on. And that's it. Now I do want to show you, I've actually had to replace the coil pack on this engine back some months ago. So obviously you can see this is the same coil pack. Now what I wanted to show you was actually inside the coil pack, where that contact actually goes up inside and touches the coil pack itself. You'll see, if you look in this one, you'll see there's like a kind of a star. There's like plastic tags all the way around that hold the contact in the center, and then underneath you'll see a steel plate. Now that should be nice and clean, and obviously the spring should contact in there tidy, or the actual contact on the top. Now if I take this one off here, which is actually cylinder 1, and I shine a torch, you'll actually see that all the pieces of plastic that hold it in the middle are all broken away, and the plate is actually quite pitted. Now I did actually clean this one up to get myself out of trouble, but you can see definitely signs of corrosion and obviously signs of some sort of build up, which I've had to clean out. So this is actually what went wrong with this coil pack, which gave me a misfire and an engine management light. So that's something to check, definitely to check on these engines if you have that issue. So I'm going to take a spark plug socket. Now this actually says 10mm CR-V, but it's a 16mm deep socket you need. Now this is actually a special spark plug socket that's got a rubber boot inside, so it actually clips onto the spark plug. So once you've undone it, you can just lift it out. If you use an ordinary deep socket, you might have to need like a pointy pliers or something to actually lift the spark plug out. So if you've got the proper socket there, this is the one you need. Now I'm just going to unwind it out, and I'm going to show you what it looks like once we get him out. And there we have him. So as you can see, I'll try and zoom in on this a bit better for you so you can see him. So there we go. So basically what you're looking for is this contact on the end. So there we go. So you can see the white piece, and then in the center of the white you've got this electrode, which is what produces the current for your spark, and then the spark jumps from the electrode to that metal contact which is hooked on the end. So basically what you're looking at is the condition of that electrode in the middle. Now you can see this one has kind of rounded edges, and it actually has a couple of little chunks out of it. Well, very, very fine. You know, it's really hard to see, but you can see it's just a little bit pitted on the end, so it's showing signs of wear. Like I say, there was nothing wrong with this engine. It was running perfectly fine, but obviously you can see the spark plugs are definitely due for change. And sometimes you'll see this kind of hooked bit of metal on the end, which is the earth, will actually sometimes bend away from the electrode, or sometimes bend too close to it, which will give you the wrong gap. So it's worth checking. Now here's a new plug. There we go. So I zoomed in there so you can see. If I can put the box the right way around, you'll see there's a part number. Now I will advise that you go to your local factor, give them your reg, and if you're going to buy these plugs online, make sure you supply your reg so you make sure you get the right ones. So as you can see, that electrode in the middle, you can just see it's a nice sharp kind of cylinder shape, and you can see there's actually not that much of a gap between the electrode and the actual earth hook on the end. So that's what a good plug looks like. I've seen them literally where the electrode disappears. So just to say there now, I dropped it into the hole, give it a bit of a wiggle, and then screwed it in. It's always good to plug it into the socket first so it's nice and tight, and then we're going to screw it in. Now once it goes tight, I'm just going to give it a little nip. These do into an aluminium head, so the last thing you want is to over tighten them. So I'm just going to wind him down as far as he'll go, and then give him a quick nip, and then that is literally it. I will put the tightening torques in the description, but I just give them I just wind them down with my fingers and give them a nip. So I'm going to do the other three now. I'll speed all this up now, so you don't have to watch it all the way through. Well, you do, but you won't at a quicker speed, so we'll get it over and done with. And it's always worth checking all the plugs when you take them out, because you know, and you want to make sure there's no oil on the end of them, and they're nice and clean. And yeah, it's always worth checking them, just not changing them. And there's the last one, so I'll just nip this one up. As you can see there, just a little nip just to make sure they're tight. So it's that simple. So we're just going to slot the coil pack back into place. Now obviously make sure all the springs are in place and everything's nice and straight, and we're going to drop it down and give it a firm push. Now you don't have to worry about it going too far down, because the bolts will pull it down into position. So we're going to put them T30 Torx bolts back in place and wind them down. I always like to wind everything by hand just to make sure that it lines up, especially with the spark plugs. You know, if you can't screw them in most of the way with your fingers, there's something wrong. So the last thing you want to do when you're screwing things like this into aluminium is to cross thread them. So always screw them in with your fingers, and then once you get not far off, then just nip them up with a ratchet. Don't just put them in and then wind them with a gun or a ratchet, because if you cross thread them, you could do damage. So once we do that, now we're going to grab the electrical plug, and we're going to push the electrical plug back on. You'll see the tab kind of click and drop into place when it goes in, And there we go, and then you make sure it's down, and then once it's on, we'll give it a firm wiggle and a pull just to make sure, and then we're going to push that red or orange lock back into place. And that's it, believe it or not. So we're going to drop the cover back on. It just got these little like C-clips on it that actually lock on, so we're just going to locate them and push them back into place and clip it on. So it's that simple, guys. I strongly advise anyone having a go at it, and yeah, I hope this helps.
And if you get value from this video, hit the like button and subscribe to support this channel.